continue with learning the Gemara from within the Gemara. And we're going to quickly review what we did last week. I have some handouts, but we'll get there. The goal for today, considering the fact that we are not going to have class next week or in 2 weeks, okay, so please note, not going to have class next week for 2 reasons. One, I'm going to be in Israel. 2, because it's, we're all going to be busy checking our houses for chametz. A week from tonight. Pesach is coming. So beware. So we're not going to have class next week, and the following week is Chol HaMoed, and I'm still going to be in Israel. So no class in 2 weeks, so we will start the class again in 3 weeks. And an email will go out to remind people that there isn't class next week or in 2 weeks, and there is a class in 3 weeks. So just check your emails. Okay, so first thing we'll do, we're going to review where we let off with. So we're going to start with, I'm not going to do it myself, you guys are going to do it. You're going to look inside the Gemara. And what we did last week, we saw the She'elah. Now remind ourselves that the She'elah is it's a compound She'elah. It has 3 stages to it, the She'elah. Right? I would say, you could use possibly this sheet. I'm going to give out a new one soon, which we're going to actually work on. But to look at the Gemara inside, there's also the sheet that I gave out with the English words. So if that's the one you want to use, so with your chavruta, just look at it, make sure you remember it, and we're going to review it together. And then we're going to continue to do the rest of the Gemara, which is actually much easier. And then we're going to, and then by the end of today, we will have actually done the entire Gemara from the inside. Hopefully, if we have time to even practice reading it, then we'll see where we go. So go ahead, jump into it. What you're actually doing now, you're just reading it. If you can, try first from the Gemara itself. If not, then from the cheat sheet, and make sure you understand the 3 stages of the She'elah. The cheat sheet is sheet number...
My...
Yeah.
Alahav, Mitzvot, Kim Chaya, Barawet, Kol Mitzvot, Abayin Ha'o, Benashem, Betzurosh, B'chol Mitzvot Ha'av, Abayin, Echad Nashem, Echad Nashem, Hayavin.
If you will say that all the
So, are we starting from the Gemara, or are we starting
from the Gemara itself?
Just from
the Gemara itself, but you have to remember in the back of your minds that it is based on the first sentence of the Mishnah, right? That we kind of have to.
So my, which means what? All mitzvot habein. What are the obligations of the son to the father? Ilema, which means if you will say. So now that's the first. That's the shah. That's the shah. When you say ilema, if you will say kol mitzvot, that all of the mitzvot tim chayev. For it is obligated.
Bra is son.
Okay. Son is obligated. The ma'avod. What's the ma'avod?
Leme'eva, to do. To.
Son is obligated to do nashim, woman, but are exempt. But hatnai
Which
doesn't
option suggests that this comes and then this one over here. So it says otherwise
doesn't it say to the father
or right
no. The son is obligated to do to the father. It
only says man, but woman.
Doesn't it say ish?
But it's also woman.
Hella ish. Isha. Man. No. It's not.
A man. His mother and his father.
Isha.
They will feel ish. It's more than just
From
ish. And I've read before that. Often it's like Torah. And Israel refers to a man and his wife.
Wait. You say that it's not even there. It says ish. Ish means man, singular.
No, but I've seen elsewhere like...
Yeah, but that's exactly the opposite of what this is Gemara saying.
Yes, but to prove that it is his... Well,
because ish over here, it's not talking about generic, the generic as in people. Ish, man. Then the Gemara, the Bride continues.
Oh, man. Oh, it is
man. And then the Gemara continues. What does the Bride say afterwards? Enli ela ish. This teaches me only about a man. Ishami 9. How do I know that this would be true also to a woman? Kshehu omer. When the pasuk says ish imo v'aviv tira'u, plural, harei kan shnayim, then it's actually referring to plural. So even though the pasuk begins with the word man, denoting it's only men who are obligated, the ending of the pasuk denotes plural. So we now know that the obligation of people towards their parents is non-discriminatory. It's both for men and women, and therefore disproving the possibility that
is only what a son does for his father.
Correct.
And so it says that sons.
Hooray. That's 9. There, that's where there is 2. There are 2. Amar Rabbi Yair says, which means this is what it says. Kol mitzvot ben, all the of the son,
We didn't get there yet. We didn't get there yet. Okay, so let's stop here for a second. Okay, and I'm going to give this out. Okay, which is basically an elaborate version of this. Okay. Can you guys see the lights off? Okay. So this will serve for us as this sheet that I just gave us, which is March 17, but it's a mistake. It's actually should be 18 on the bottom. I forgot to change it. So you should.
19 on the bottom.
What?
19.
Should be 19. So change it to 19. Sorry. Change it to 19, so we can keep count of all of our pages. Just a second. Okay. So let's write down for ourselves. This is going to serve for us as right. This has our flow chart. This has the structure and the logical flow of the sugya. Right. We recognize this, but I just expanded the boxes and left enough room for us to write it in as it becomes clarified to us. So let's just go over it quickly. Right. This is the first chunk of the sugya. We have a she'elah, a compound she'elah that has 3 small stages to it. We have a tshuva, and we have a re'ayah, a proof. Okay? Although the proof we didn't get to yet, we didn't get to the tshuva yet either. But really, this is the difficult part, the compound question. It's gonna flow from there. Okay? Thank you. Okay, so Good evening. Okay, we just had Chavrutot and we kind of reviewed what we did last week just to get up to speed, and now we're summarizing it together. So, what is the question? We don't have to write out the exact words. Just it's enough that this is basically we're taking notes for ourselves. So, what is the question?
What does it mean that Son needs to be father?
What does Son on Father mean? Or refer to, okay? So, Ilema, now it's going to give us an answer which is an answer, it's going to give us a possible answer, which it's going to then say is not true, right? So what is the possible answer that it's saying it doesn't want you to think? Okay, what is that? If you tell me that the meaning of this phrase is what?
All the mitzvot of the Son does fall apart.
If you tell me that this is, right, I'm going to go like this. Right, if you tell me it's mitzvot, yeah, mitzvot, Son needs to do to the Father, or to the Father, for the Father, or not for is a bad word to use, to the Father, towards, to the Father, then what? And that those are the mitzvot that women are exempt from. I mean, if you tell me that mitzvot that Son needs to do to the Father and women are exempt, then what? Then what? The Hatanya.
Doesn't it say otherwise?
It says explicitly otherwise in a different source, in a Braita. Okay? The Hatanya. It says in Braita that this isn't true. That men and women both have to respect parents. Respect parents. Okay? Now, okay, everyone understand what it says here? I'm going to clear, yeah.
I just want to understand, you said it says explicitly, but it's not really explicit. It's implicit in as much as it talks about singular versus plural. Is that right? That's the one we're talking about?
No. You stumbled on a very important point. It says, what is the proof that the Gemara is bringing for the fact that this hypothesis is wrong? Not that the pasuk says singular plural. What is the proof of the Gemara? Is it because of what the pasuk says? You remember the layers of sources. What source is the Gemara relying on to disprove this option? Is it relying on the Torah's explanation?
Yes.
No. It's relying on the Braita's explanation. The Braita is interpreting the Torah. But the rabbis of the Gemara, the proof they're bringing is from the words of the Tanaim. Just so happens that the words that they're quoting of the Tanaim are how the Tanaim understood the text of their earlier source, the Torah. But the proof that they're bringing is in the fact that there's a Braita that explicitly says that men and women are both obligated to respect their parents. Where did the rabbis of the Mishnah get it from? They got it from, and they understood it like this from the Torah. But if I were to ask, what is their source? What is the source of the Gemara for the fact that both men and women are obligated to respect their parents? What's their source?
The explicit Tanaic.
Explicit Tanaic source. Now, if we were to now come and discuss that source independently and say, where did the Tanaim get it from? They inferred it from the verse. How did they infer it from the verse?
Singular versus plural.
That the pasuk begins with singular. Here, let's do that separately over here, right? Let's do a kind of add-on a thing over here. Okay? So this is going to give us a little bit of, okay? As far as the stages, I don't even need to know how the singular plural thing. I don't care about that. I mean, as far as understanding, sorry, no, I keep on being, the camera keeps on now. As far as understanding what the Gemara is doing and how it's doing it, I don't even need to understand the pasuk, right? All I need to know is that the Braita, the rabbis of the Mishnah, the rabbis of the Tanaic source, say that both men and women are obligated to respect their parents. Now, that explains, that helps us for our purposes to understand what's going on. But, of course, it's worthy to understand how did the rabbis of the Mishnah, the rabbis of the Tanaic era, how did they come to this conclusion? So we can go to the side here and we can understand, right? The verse says, man man shall respect their parents. Okay? That's what the verse says. So, who is it speaking to? Is it speaking to a man or to a man and a woman? Must be a man and a woman. But doesn't it just say man? Well, yeah, it says man, but it obviously doesn't mean just man. How do I know it doesn't mean just man? Because it says their parents. Excuse me, not their parents. That's not what it says. Oops. Man shall tira'u. They shall respect. Man's okay. You know what? I translated incorrectly. Sorry. Here. Man's father and mother, they, it's actually you in the plural, but you in the plural doesn't exist in English. Y'all, I guess. There you go. There you go. That's it. Remind me of my southern days. Man's father and mother, y'all. I have no idea how to spell it. Y'all shall respect. That even sounds biblical. Right?
Y apostrophe A-L-L.
What? Why?
Y apostrophe A-L-L.
Okay. Y'all.
For my southern days.
For my southern days? What are your southern days? What? What are your southern days?
A week or two in Florida. No, I'm kidding.
Okay. Okay, so man's father and mother, you all, okay, or they, or with plural, shall respect. So, who is it talking to? It's obviously talking to man and woman. Because if it was talking just to man, it would say, man's father and mother, he shall respect. Not, you all shall respect. So it's obviously talking about more than just man. Okay? So, that's how the Tanaim, the rabbis of the Tanaic era, that's how they, when they saw the verse, right? Because remember, the rabbis of the Gemara, their primary source is what? The Mishnah and the Tanaic sources. And the Tanaic, and the Mishnah's primary source is the Torah. Okay? So the rabbis of the Gemara are quoting a primary source, a Tanaic source.
So if you want
No, again, sorry. But if you're talking, now that you've quoted a primary source, we also, as people who study, are going to also take a look at the primary source. And we're going to try to dissect that. So we just did that. We're looking now at the primary source and see how did this primary source, well, it turns out this primary source has its own primary source, which is the Torah. Okay? So we see how the rabbis of the Mishnah came to their conclusion, which was quoted by the rabbis of the Gemara. Okay? End of the day, so now we understand both how the rabbis of the Mishnah came to their conclusion, that both men and women have to respect their parents, and this serves as a proof that it cannot be that when the Mishnah came and said that there's certain mitzvot that only men are obligated in, it cannot be only men are obligated. That mitzvot that have to do with parents and children that only men are obligated to do. It cannot be talking about mitzvot that children need to do to their parents, because here you go. Here's an explicit source that says that both men and women are obligated to respect their parents. Yes.
So if we wanted to find out that. So I know they've quoted the Mishnaic source here.
In this case, it's a Braita.
Where would you find it?
The Braita?
Yeah.
Right here. The definition of a Braita, is a Tanaic source that did not make it into the Mishnah. Okay? The Mishnah is a compilation of many, many different discussions that took place during the time of the Mishnah. Excuse me, during the era of the rabbis that lived during those centuries. But not everything made it in. Not every rabbinical discussion, legal discussion, made it in to the Mishnah, which was the official edition. Okay, but there are a lot of other discussions that have the same status, but just never made it into the finalized book. But the Gemara, the rabbis of the Gemara knew a lot of them, and had in tradition they continued passing it on, even though it wasn't part of the official edition. But as far as its legal status, it has the same legal status. So the word Braita literally means outsiders or outside. Okay, that's what the word Braita actually means. Meaning the ones, the Tanaic sources that did not make it in to the official compendium. Now, over the years, there are rabbis who said, okay, let's take all the Braitot that I quoted, and all the different Gemaras, and all the different Midrashim, and all the different, let's compile them into a collection of Braitot. But they're not making it into the Mishnah. Okay, where Rabbi Yehuda Nasi said, okay, let me collect all of the most important ones, the central ones, and make them the official, Mishnah.
There is an edition where you can go and see all of them.
What, the Braitot?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now there is.
Yeah. No, I've been looked at hundreds and hundreds of years ago. People started compiling, but again, over time, we discovered more. Let's say for instance, the Cairo Geniza, the Cairo. I don't know if you guys have you heard of the Cairo Geniza? In Cairo was basically a massive Jewish center for many, many, many years. But most importantly, it was a link. It was a main stopover between Babylon, which is where the main Jewish authorities and rabbinical leaders and the main yeshivas were for hundreds and hundreds of years, between that area and North Africa. And letters continuously would go back and forth between those two centers, and they would be sent through Cairo. And scribes in Cairo, when they got the letters, they would copy them down to make sure that they have a copy of their own before sending it off with the question back to Babel, or with an answers back from Babel to Morocco, Tunisia, whatever, all over North Africa. And then about 100 years ago was discovered in one of the ancient shuls in Cairo a massive hundreds of thousands of documents of Shemus. And there's a collection of hundreds of thousands. It is other than the Dead Sea Scrolls, which is considered to be the most significant, kind of Jewish archaeological discovery, definitely as far as Jewish writings is concerned. Does everyone know what the Dead Sea Scrolls is? Dead Sea Scroll was exactly what they sound like. Scrolls that were found in the 50s or 60s near the Dead Sea, and there are again thousands of documents and Megillot, some that are 2,000 years old. Some of them researchers think might even originate from the Bet HaMikdash itself during the time of the Second Temple. It is considered to be one of, if not the most important, one of the most important, as far as text-wise, considered to be the most important archaeological discovery possibly in history. And these Megillot can be seen to this day. There's in Israel. You can go to the museum, the Israel Museum, and see them, and you go online and you can read them. And they're considered to be also within the Christian world to be extremely important discoveries, because there's a lot of things that trace back to the origins of Christianity there. They found there a set of tefillin from the Bar Kokhba revolt. It's an amazing discovery, and the Cairo Geniza is considered to be almost as significant. Anyhow, I digress. Okay, so we all understand what we did here. We understand the she'elah. We're not sure. We have a question. We say, don't even think of answering this, because I know that's going to be wrong, because I have a source that contradicts that possibility, so don't even mention it. Okay, so now where are we? So now we're ready for our answer, because what are we back to? What stage over here are we back to?
Question.
The original question, which is, what does son on the father mean? so then I can find out which mitzvot are men obligated in and women not obligated in. Which mitzvah are they referring to? So first I want to understand. So what does son on the father mean? It does not mean son to the father. We now know it does not mean son to his father. Okay? So obviously what it does mean is now evident, but now we're going to see in the Gemara. Okay? So what you're going to do now in Chavruta, you're going to continue doing from here till the end of the Gemara. I have another cheat sheet here that has translations of potentially difficult words. I would encourage you to try first without. I actually shouldn't have given them out. I should have said everyone try on your own first for five minutes, and then if you feel the need, you can ask for the cheat sheet. So try first without the cheat sheet. Try first without it. So again, guys remember though, what are we looking for now? What's the next stage? This helps you. What is the next stage? What is the Gemara going to be doing now? What is it going to be presenting?
Therefore, it must be the other way.
An answer, right? And you know that where's the answer going to end? You know where the answer begins, right? It begins after the Hatanya's quote ends, right?
Yeah.
So you know what word it's going to start with? It's going to start with the words.
Array.
No. What words is the answer going to start with?
Well, we know it does. If you read it, hooray, but
Not hooray. No. What? Well, yes, we know that because that's the map we're following. We know that we've identified that. Remember, don't forget about the stages. Don't forget about the function words. We've identified the function word hachikamar, which means this is what it's saying. That's the beginning of the answer. Wait.
Rabbi Yehuda who's saying the hakikama or?
Wait. So then ask me again. Wait. But again, right, guys, remember this is where the function words really come in two ways. One, we know we've created a logical structure, so we know what to expect. But also, it helps us frame the text itself. Where does each stage begin and end? So you're not just reading and not knowing what you're doing. You know from where until where to read, and that helps you chop up the Gemara into bite-sized pieces and not just one big glob that you don't know how to figure out, right? So we know that the next stage begins with the words hachikamar, which means this is what it means. This is what it's saying.
Abbreviation.
Okay, it's an abbreviation, hey kuf. That's where the tshuva begins. And where's the tshuva going to end? What word? Right, because how do you know that? Because Tanina is the next stage. Because we know that Tanina is the next stage. We know that with Tanina starts a proof. Because we know that that's what the word Tanina means. It means proof. So now all you have to figure out the answer is those 10 words. That's it. Very bite-sized, very easily digested. Go ahead. Figure out those 10 words.
This is where it goes. That are upon to do Lipnot to his son,
that applies to the father.
and Hashem
So to do to his son,
are obligated,
Hashem
men are obligated,
women
and
are
Hashem, that's a rot, and women are
obligated.
the answer.
Oh, yes, sir.
All of the mitzvahs of the son.
That's it?
Let me read that again.
No, we didn't get it till you understand what you're reading.
So Rabbi Yehuda says,
Mutalot is
son,
that are
on
upon.
the father,
Okay,
that are on the father to be the son, women,
it's not what the son
and
needs to
women
do to the father.
It's
For the
the
father,
other way
it's the
around.
other
What
one,
the
right.
father needs to do to the son.
The father to the son, Ibno, and Hashem, men are obligated, Hashem to rot. Women are exempt.
Women are exempt.
So father's obligation to the son, but
Yeah, well, the answer is all the mitzvahs of the son there are on the father to do.
So it's the father's obligation to the son. That's like that option B.
All the mitzvahs of the son that are upon the father to do for the son. A man is obligated and a woman is not obligated. No, you just give it a straight answer.
Yeah, that's it. Right?
it's the reverse.
Yeah, that's it. Very simple.
Which Rabbi Yehuda are they quoting? Not Rav, right? I mean, they're quoting different.
Wait,
When it's Rabbi Yehuda on the sea, they just said.
just a second.
Is that different?
No, this is a Rabbi Yehuda. It would be a. Just a second. Wait. Just a second. Let me just see. Hachikamar. Where are we? No, Rabbi Yehuda. Okay, that's where you got to. Rabbi. Most times, Rabbi is going to be a Tana. Okay, Rabbi whatever. Rabbi Meir, Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Shimon. Rav X is usually going to be an Amora. Just different titles, different generations. It's not always true, it's mostly true. Rabbi Shimon, Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Meir, Rabbi Akiva, Rabbi Tarfon, Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. I said that already. Whereas Rav usually is going to be an Amora. Different titles for different eras.
Rav is an Amora, Rabbi is a...
Usually Rabbi is a Tana and Rav is an Amora. Okay? So, what is the answer to the question, what does it refer to when it says son on father? What is the answer? Tshuva hachikamar. This is what it's saying. Meaning, this is what it means to say. What's the answer?
See what you...
Someone help me? Don't read it from here.
So the mitzvahs of the on the son that the father is obligated to do for the son.
Use your words. Don't tell me what the Gemara is saying. Tell me. When, use your words, not my words. when the Mishnah is saying all the mitzvot, son on father, men are obligated, women are exempt. What does that mean?
It means that the mitzvahs of that the father is required to do for the son.
Yes.
The women are not so.
Women do not have the same obligation to do those mitzvot for the son that the father has to do.
Okay. Well, you still managed to make it complicated, but it's 100% correct. But meaning,
Give us a simplified version.
Okay, here. Mitzvot that fathers are obligated to do to their sons. Okay? So, okay, that's it. Meaning, the mitzvot that you as a father, everyone here, that you as a father need to do to your children, you're obligated in doing for them, and your wives are not obligated to do for them. Yes, now that we've actually understood what it's saying, it sounds difficult. What do you mean? Yeah. Women are not obligated to fulfill commandment, they don't have obligation towards their children? Good question. That's when we get to the last stage of the 5 or the 6 stages of learning Gemara. That's second level things. First, we understand what the Gemara. First, we understand what the Gemara is doing. Then we understand what the Gemara is saying, and then we want to understand why the Gemara is saying it, and then we want to challenge it. And, we want to say, why is the Gemara saying this, or how does this make sense? That second level of thinking, after we understand what the Gemara is saying, we can question the Gemara and try to understand it further. Okay? Why it's saying, how does this make sense? Does this fit with other things that we know? Does this fit with our logic? Second level thinking.
Yes, but is that what it's actually saying? That
absolutely. Absolutely.
That a woman is exempt.
Yes. That a woman is. I said all of the mitzvot that fathers are obligated to do for their sons, women are exempt from. Sounds difficult.
Yeah.
What does that mean? How could that be? Good question. We'll get there. That's okay, but that's what the Mishnah says. Soon we're going. Okay, so now, okay, since this sounds very odd, what would you expect the Gemara to do?
Well,
it does sound odd.
It's more than that. It's why is it also a father doesn't mean a father doesn't have obligations to his daughter?
Excellent second level question. second level thinking question. Okay? You're saying, we've been stuck right now on one second level question, which is, excuse me? Like, how could that be? Or why would that be? And you're saying, wait a second, does this mean that there's no obligation on it? Meaning, you're saying, well, one question is, really, women and mothers are not obligated to do anything from the Torah, not obligated to do anything for their children? And you're saying, well, there's another question here. Fathers are not obligated, they have no mitzvah towards their daughters? Because it seems to be exclusive. Fathers towards sons.
I don't know that I see that as an exclusivity. I think...
Why not?
Because I think it's very specifically referring to fathers' mitzvot to sons.
Excellent.
It's not talking about fathers' mitzvot to daughters, which may or may not exclude the
You're jumping to a conclusion that's not in here. Meaning, Lawrence is saying it's very explicitly excluding mothers. It said nothing about daughters in either direction.
Excuse me, may I ask a question?
Always.
Why don't they use the word children? Why do they have to distinguish between sons and daughters when they could say children?
First of all, you have an assumption that there is a word for children, which is non-gender. So there might be, okay? But I'm not even sure there was back then a word because remember, in Hebrew, all words are either male or female, basically. Okay? All nouns are either male or female. Unlike in English.
But
the word table in Hebrew is male. What is the female version of table? Not Hebrew. That's what it is. Every noun, and as my children always remind me, because they're learning about verbs and nouns now, people are like a person is a noun, right? Officially. In Hebrew, there is no such thing as, we have the word child, which is gender neutral. In Hebrew at the time, there really isn't. Any word for instance, there's the word yeled and yelda, okay, which is child, male child, female child. There's ben bat, boy girl. There's ish isha, man woman. There's tzetza, which is offspring, or tzetzait, which is female offspring. There isn't a gender neutral.
Yes, I understand that, but it would have been so much simpler if they had said children.
Is it possible that maybe they're being specific to mitzvahs that only apply to the son? Mm-hmm. So that they have specifically excluded daughter because they are...
But they haven't. Wait, they haven't. You just said you're explicit. Well, you're contradicting. It's okay. We can contradict ourselves. I do it all the time.
Based on this discussion.
But I'm saying, but that argument that you made is an excellent argument, which is, it seems to be that only if you've explicitly excluded something here, do we not count it. That's what it would seem, right? You went to great lengths to exclude. You explicitly said mitzvot that women are exempt from doing mitzvot or obligations, Torah obligations towards their sons. So now would be an excellent follow-up question: what about to their daughters? Is this excluding them or not? And if it is excluding them, then why don't you specify it like you did when you're differentiating between the father and mother? So we'll see. But again, these are things that the Gemara does not actually talk about. This is something that the Rishonim, the peripheral commentaries will come and ask, saying, there's something missing here. Yeah.
It's like, it specifically says Abba here. But when it comes to women, it doesn't say Ima, it says Nashi. Or at least...
let's see. Where are you talking about?
Like it doesn't say... even in his proof.
In the Hatanya, okay. Ish, Eli Ela Ish, Isha Minayin. Kshomer Ish, Imo, Vavitel Hashem. No way.
Okay, but Nashim Torah. Who is that Nashim? Is it the Emma or who is it?
Women. Women have no Torah obligations. Torah does not put any obligations on any women towards their children.
Yes, so why doesn't it refer to them as mothers? Just like it refers.
No. Wait. In the Mishnah itself, right? Let's look at the first sentence of the Mishnah.
I'm not inside the Mishnah. It also refers to Nashi.
So anyway, it's talking about the. Let's ask the question again.
So.
What's the difficulty?
So it gives an answer, and it says that it is.
You looking at the answer? Fine. Let's read the answer.
Okay. So it is what the father needs to do for his son.
Yeah.
Okay. And then his mother is exempt, but it doesn't say mother. It says woman or exempt.
Right. Well, most mothers are women.
Yes, and so fathers are also men.
Right.
And that doesn't refer to the father as a man.
No, because that's what I'm saying. When it says all the obligations of a father to his son, okay, so basically saying, you would think it's talking about father as parent, and saying no, it's saying about father as man.
Okay.
I think I understand the question, but.
Yeah. Okay.
He's saying asking a linguistic question or a phrasing question.
Yeah.
Because I understand. Because the fact that a woman is exempt from it has nothing to do with the fact that she's a mother. It has to do with, and because we're going to see later on in the Gemara, much later on, that has to do with there are certain mitzvot that women, as women, are exempt from. Just so happens, one of those categories is obligations of parents to their children.
Okay.
But it's not because she's a mother, it's because she's a woman.
Okay.
And as a woman, there's certain mitzvot that she is explicitly obligated in, and there are whole categories of mitzvot that women, as women, are exempt from. And this one falls into that category.
Okay, I understand.
Okay? So we have our answer. We have a question. What does son and father mean? Answer: it's mitzvot that fathers are obligated to do to their sons. Now, this sounds odd, right? As well as some other questions that came up. What about female children? Okay, excellent question, which we can ask after, but the Gemara won't ask that. Doesn't mean it's not a good question. It means that's after you answer the Gemara. Say, okay, now I have some of my own questions. And you look in the Rishonim, the commentators that came after the Gemara, who discussed these things, and that's what they do. They Gemara the Gemara. Right? They started asking questions on the Gemara and contradicting the Gemara from other Gemaras. Okay? That's what we call Gemara in the Gemara. So now this is odd, though. This sounds a little odd that women are exempt, or only fathers are obligated to do mitzvah, to have Torah obligations to their children. So what would you expect the next stage to be? Or what did we see based on that function, which the next stage is? Tanina, which is what?
Proof.
A proof. Now it makes sense. Not every single thing the Gemara says necessarily needs proof. But some things you would expect a proof about. Like this thing, because everyone here, once we actually understood what it's saying, we're like, really? My wife does not have any obligations in the Torah to my children? My wife has no obligation to feed her children, to educate them, to, I don't know, all the other things. The Torah does not put obligations on a mother towards her children. Sounds odd. So the Gemara is going to bring a proof. So now, read the proof. Go ahead. Learn the proof.
The more I think about it, the more I think that what you just said there, so does this mean that the mother doesn't have obligation towards her children? I think it's very specifically not meaning that it is focusing on mitzvah specifically on the child.
So you're saying it's not
the firstborn, or
wait. You're saying it's not saying there are no Torah obligations of a mother towards her children.
Right.
You're right. It doesn't say that. It said all of the mitzvot that a father needs to do to his son, women are exempt from.
Right.
You're saying very well. You're saying
It's a very
maybe
subset.
there are certain mitzvot that a mother does to her child. We're just not talking about those. All we're saying is the obligations that a father has towards his son, only the father has towards his son.
Yeah.
And there are certain the mitzvot, the father obligations that the father has towards his son, women are exempt from.
Right.
You're saying maybe there's a whole other category. You're saying maybe there's a whole other category of mitzvot that both parents
Right.
equally have towards their children, or only women have. We're just not talking about them right now. Excellent point. Could be.
Yes, and I would agree with that as well, because as I said, like it actually specifically says of, and so it's only talking about him. It's not.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe.
So I think that it is very possible to understand that. It's a legitimate explanation, mainly also because I think that you both find yourselves kind of going towards that direction because you're hoping that that's true. You're hoping that that's true, but it may not be true. It might, but again, logically speaking, you're right. They should not come and say all the obligations of parents to their children are only upon the father towards his son. It did not say that. But it might, it might turn out that it's Right. Okay. So go ahead. Let's try to finish off just the Tanina. Remember, what is the Tanina trying to do? To prove what?
That it's the obligations of the father.
That the obligations of the father towards his son are just the father's to the son. So go ahead, read the Tanina. And first thing you look for, where does it start? And make sure you know where it ends. Okay? See that it's not that long.
If you so father is obligated with regards to son. To teach him.
Lemulo. From the word milah.
Torah, teaching Torah, bring the
gets married. How the children gets married.
Right, sorry.
Yeah, I'm reading, yeah. That's what someone said.
Lashito.
Even though
those that say even
the mind
to swear.
If you go to Saxford, if you live in an area,
that's a different section. Whoever does not trade, he teaches him to stop thievery.
Wait, guys, remember, don't go beyond. Look at what the next stage is. Oh, okay, fine. You're still good. You continue, yeah.
He teaches thieves to be a thief. Thievery is something.
Wait, no, you went too far. You guys went too far. Remember, that's a very important thing when you're actually looking to make sure you stop before, right? If you look at your stages, Samech Dalet Salka Datach is the next stage. So stop. Okay?
Yeah. What does Salka Datach mean?
What?
What does it mean, Salka Datach?
Could you possibly think that? It's a kushya. Could you possibly think that? Meaning that can't be true. It doesn't make any sense.
This upset.
Okay, let's bring it in because you only have a few more minutes. So what is the proof? I'm going to block my answer. What's the proof? Right? It's bringing a braita, a primary source. So the key phrase is Tanina lehad de tanu rabbanan, which I translated for you guys there. We said a braita that says exactly what the Mishnah says. So it's quoting a source, a Tanaic source, primary source, to prove the answer to prove that the obligations of the father needs to the son is only the father. So what's the proof? What's the proof from the primary source?
It says ha'av is chayav.
Ha'av chayav, and then it details the mitzvot.
Are these mitzvot examples, or are these the mitzvot that are?
These are the mitzvot.
They are the mitzvot, right?
Okay. So what are the mitzvot? Father is obligated to son. What are the mitzvot that the father is obligated to do to his son?
Brit milah.
Brit milah.
Pidyon haben.
Pidyon haben.
Teach him Torah.
Teach him Torah.
To make sure he gets married.
To marry him off.
And teach him a parnasa.
Teach him a trade.
And
there are those who say Yasser is obligated to teach him how to swim.
Bar mitzvah? Huh?
What is it that you as a father need to do for your son to make him bar mitzvah? What if you don't give him a bar mitzvah? Is he not still bar mitzvah? I mean, it's a nice thing to do, to have a party. But what's the difference for your son, other than emotional trauma, between if you do celebrate his bar mitzvah versus don't? From the Torah's perspective, what's the difference? None. He still becomes legally.
He's legally that age.
He's legally that age, whether you do a party or not, whether he gets an aliyah or not. Nothing changes. But if you give him a brit milah or not, it makes a big difference. Whether he has a pidyon haben or not makes a huge difference. His status is different. His halachic, he has an obligation here, right? He can't have eat Pesach, right? He can't, if he doesn't have a brit milah, yeah.
So
can
I
you
know
just
if it's
move on to something that's the thing?
Sorry?
So I know if it's premature, but I mean, there's so many potential challenges to this. Like, it's one thing to say you have to try your best to do X, Y, Z. What if the child has, learning disabilities? What if the child doesn't have arms and can't swim? Or what if he's?
That, by the way, is a great Gemara question. It is. It's the kind of question the Gemara loves asking, taking something crazily outlandish to test the theory, to test the rule. So,
but it doesn't say you have to try to. I mean, it makes it an obligation.
Yeah, but
fine. But that would be true. That would
mean that you haven't taught him. He just hasn't learned.
Fine. Listen. You are obligated. You are obligated next week to be makriv the korban pesach. You're not obligated to try. You're obligated to do the korban pesach. What are you going to do about it? You can't. There's nothing you can do. You can't bring it now. Fine. It's not your choice to not bring the korban pesach. Reality is such that you cannot bring korban pesach because you are tmemet, and the only place you can bring a korban pesach is on Har Habayit. You, as being tmemet, cannot go up there to be makriv. Doesn't mean you're not obligated. You're still obligated. I just can't. It's not up to me. I can't.